Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. I would like to begin today's episode with a question that may seem simple, but the longer I think about it, the more important it becomes. Have you ever won an argument and lost a relationship? Have you ever proven your point and made the situation worse? Have you ever been so focused on being right that you stopped asking whether being right was actually helping? Most of us have experienced this at some point in our lives. It happens in families, it happens in classrooms, it happens in locker rooms, it happens in boardrooms, it happens between coaches and players, parents and children, leaders and employees, teachers and students. It happens everywhere. A disagreement begins with a genuine attempt to solve a problem, then something changes. The focus shifts from understanding to winning. The conversation becomes less about finding the best solution and more about proving who is correct. When that happens, something important is often lost because being right and being effective are not always the same thing. This may be one of the most difficult lessons a person can learn. We naturally enjoy being right. Feels good. It validates our thinking. It confirms our beliefs. It reassures us that we understand what's happening around us. The problem is that growth rarely occurs when our primary objective is proving ourselves correct. Growth usually begins when we become curious enough to ask whether we might be missing something. Sport provides a fascinating example of this reality. Imagine a coach with 20 years of experience. They have studied the game, attended coaching clinics, analyzed countless hours of film, and led teams through both successes and failure. Their experience matters. Their knowledge matters. Yet, experience can create a hidden danger. The danger is believing that experience automatically makes us right. A player raises a concern, the coach dismisses it. An assistant coach offers a different perspective, the head coach ignores it. The parents provide feedback, the coach becomes defensive. Over time, confidence slowly transforms into certainty, and that certainty slowly transforms into arrogance. The tragedy is that the coach may never realize it's happening because arrogance rarely announces itself. It often disguises itself as expertise. The same thing can happen to athletes. Young athletes sometimes believe they know more than they actually do. Experienced athletes sometimes believe they have nothing left to learn. Both attitudes create limitations for sure. When athletes stop listening, improvement slows. When coaches stop listening, leadership suffers. When leaders stop listening, organizations stagnate. The common thread is not lack of ability, it's lack of teachability. One of the most consistent characteristics I have observed among high performers is not intelligence, talent, or even confidence. It's curiosity. The best athletes remain students. The best coaches remain learners. Best leaders remain teachable. No matter how much they accomplish, they never reach a point where they believe they have nothing left to learn. The mindset requires humility. Humility is one of the most misunderstood qualities in leadership. Many people assume humility means weakness. Others assume humility means lacking confidence. I believe both assumptions are wrong. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is recognizing that your perspective is not the only perspective. Humility is understanding that you can be knowledgeable and still have more to learn. Humility is being secure enough to admit when you are wrong. That is far more difficult than most people realize. Parents experience this challenge every day. Every parent wants it best for their kid. Every parent wants to guide, teach, and protect. Yet, sometimes the desire to be right becomes stronger than the desire to understand. A child expresses frustration. The parent immediately corrects them. A disagreement emerges. The parent immediately asserts authority. The discussion becomes a competition rather than a conversation. The parent may win the argument, but winning the argument doesn't always strengthen the relationship. Sometimes people need understanding before they need correction. The same principle applies to leadership. Many leaders believe their responsibility is to always have the answer. They feel pressure to appear confident, decisive, and certain. But as a result, admitting uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Yet some of the strongest leaders I have ever encountered are remarkably comfortable saying three simple words. I was wrong. These words are surprisingly powerful, not because they diminish authority, because they build trust. People respect leaders who are honest enough to acknowledge mistakes. People trust leaders who are willing to learn. People follow leaders who demonstrate that growth matters more than ego. The opposite is also true. When leaders become obsessed with being right, people become hesitant to speak honestly. Team members stop offering ideas. Employees stop raising concerns. Players stop communicating openly. Eventually, everyone protects themselves rather than contributing fully. The organization may continue functioning, but growth slows. Not because people lack ability, because people no longer feel safe enough to challenge assumptions. One of the reasons being right can become addictive is because it feeds the ego. Every human being has an ego. Every human being wants validation. Every human being enjoys being recognized as knowledgeable or competent. The issue is not having an ego. The issue is allowing the ego to become our teacher. When the ego is in control, every disagreement feels personal. Every criticism feels threatening. Every opposing opinion feels like an attack. Learning becomes difficult because the objective is no longer growth. The objective becomes self protection. Faith offers a different perspective. One of the recurring themes throughout faith is humility. Not weaknesses, but humility. The recognition that wisdom and teachability often travel together. The recognition that knowledge is valuable, but wisdom requires openness. The recognition that truth doesn't need our pride in order to survive. Humility creates freedom. Freedom from consistently proving ourselves, freedom from winning every argument, freedom from defending every opinion, and freedom from pretending we have all the answers. When people are no longer obsessed with appearing right, they become far more capable of becoming wise. As I grow older, I find myself less interested in winning arguments and more interested in understanding people, less interested in proving a point and more interested in discovering the truth, but less interested in protecting my ego and more interested in continuing to learn. Perhaps that's one of the signs of maturity, not knowing everything, not having all the answers, but becoming comfortable enough to keep asking questions. Because the truth is that nobody has a complete understanding of every situation. Every person sees only part of the picture. Every person has blind spots. Every person has something they can learn. The realization should not discourage us. It should encourage us because it means growth is always available. As we close today's episode, I want to leave you with a question. Think about a recent disagreement, conflict, or difficult conversation in your life and ask yourself honestly, was I trying to understand? Or was I trying to win? The answer may reveal more than you expect. Because growth rarely begins when we defend what we already believe. Growth begins when we remain teachable. Perhaps the goal is not to be the smartest person in the room. Perhaps the goal is to be the person most willing to learn. Thank you for joining me for episode 10 of Beyond the Scoreboard. Until next time, continue pursuing excellence, continue investing in people, and remember that some of life's most important lessons are found beyond the scoreboard.